Scales are the foundation of music. When we sing a song, the notes come from a scale. Add another singer, and he or she will sing notes using the same scale. This is called harmony. Add a guitarist to strum some chords, and the chords used will come from the same scale. Each scale note can be a chord. In fact, when studying music theory, we learn that chord structure is built by combining scale notes. These scale notes, when played as chords, are the most probable chords to use in a song. A key is simply the same as the scale you are using. If you are using a C major scale, you are playing in the key of C. The C major scale is made up of all natural notes, no sharps, no flats. The notes of the C scale are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and the scale resolves on another C note, which is an octave higher than the starting note. Power chords are commonly used in popular music. These are not traditional chords at all, but are fifth harmonies. To build a power chord, choose a scale note. This will be your root note. Add the fifth scale note counting from the root note. By applying this formula, you could build a fifth power chord to every scale note. So C being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, G being the fifth, C plus G equals a C5. The next note in the scale after C is D. So D being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and A being the fifth, D plus A equals a D5. You could also play that with the open D. The next note is E. E plus B equals an E5. Then we have F. F plus C equals an F5. Next we have G. G plus D equals a G5. Then there's A. A plus E equals an A5. And the seventh tone is B. B plus F equals a B diminished because the F note is a flat 5 or diminished fifth above the B note. It is often altered to a 5 chord by raising the F or flat fifth note up to an F sharp. So altogether for each scale note we have a 5 power chords: C5, D5, E5, F5, G5, A5. If we follow the scale notes, we have a B diminished fifth, or we can alter it to a B fifth, and then resolve on the C5. A chord is made up of 3 or more different notes. The most basic chord structure is made up of the first, third, and fifth scale notes, or intervals. The third interval is what gives each chord its emotional quality. The third interval can be a major or a minor. Without the use of a third interval, a group of notes does not qualify as a chord in music theory. To build a C chord from the C scale, you simply combine the notes 1, 3, and 5, or C, E, and G. Because the third interval is a major third, 2 whole steps distance, the first chord of this scale is a major C chord. To build the second chord in the key of C, start with the second scale note, D. When we apply the 1-3-5 formula, D is our first, F is the third, A is the fifth. Since F is a minor third, 1.5 steps from D, our second chord in the key of C is D minor. To build the third chord in the key of C, start with E. When we apply the 1-3-5 chord formula, E is our first, or chord root note, G is the third, and B is the fifth. G is a minor third, or 1.5 steps from E. So our third chord in the key of C is E minor. The fourth note in the C scale is F. Applied to the 1-3-5 formula, we have the notes F, A, and C. A is a major third, or 2 whole steps distance from F, so our fourth chord in the key of C is F major. The fifth note in the key of C is G. And when we apply notes 1, 3, and 5, or G, B, and D, we have G major because B is a major third above G. A is the sixth note in the key of C. The 1-3-5 formula gives us A, C, and E. C is a minor third above A, so the sixth chord in the key of C is A minor. The seventh note in the key of C is B. The 1-3-5 formula applied to a seventh major scale note gives us an entirely different chord called a diminished chord. Here we have the notes B, D, and F. D is a minor third above B, and F is a flat fifth. So if we want to stay within our scale, or within the key of C, our seventh chord will be a B diminished. Altogether, the C scale harmonized as chords is C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and B diminished. Notes on the guitar repeat themselves often, and this allows us to play fuller chords rather than strumming only 3 notes at a time. For example, we know that C major is made up of the notes C, E, and G. If we look at a fretboard note chart, we see there are several options for playing a C chord in any given position. Because of this, the most common way to play a C chord on the guitar is with the C on the 5th string 3rd fret, E on the 4th string 2nd fret, G on the 3rd string open, another C on the 2nd string 1st fret, and another E on the 1st string open. Also, it does not matter what order you play the chord tones. You can mix them up, and as long as the notes C, E, and G are present, you will have a C chord. So you can add the low E note on the 6th string. Since G is a part of the C chord, you can add the high G note on the 1st string 3rd fret, or add it to the 6th string 3rd fret. For the rest of this video, we're going to learn the most common guitar forms of each chord. If you'd like to explore more options for each chord, like we just did with the C chord, visit the stills section of this video and view the fretboard note chart. Below each chord chart, you will find the suggested fingering for each guitar chord. For the C chord, we see the 1st string is E open. The 2nd string 1st fret C is played with your 1st finger. The 3rd string G is open. The 4th string 2nd fret E is played with your 2nd finger. And the 5th string C is played with your 3rd finger. second chord is D minor, which is formed by playing the first string first fret F note with your first finger. The second string third fret D note is played with your third finger. The third string second fret A note is played with your second finger. The fourth string open is a D note. The third chord, E minor, uses the first string open E, second string open B, and the third string open G. The fourth string second fret E is played with your second finger. The fifth string second fret B is played with your first finger. And the sixth string is open E. The fourth chord in the key of C is F, and is often considered the hardest basic chord to play because it requires you to bar your first finger across the first fret of all 6 strings. Because of this, I'll show you 4 variations of the F chord. Variation 1 is a 3-note F chord. Variation 2 is a 4-string chord. Next, a 5-string F. Then all 6 strings. Depending on your skill level, you may want to play an easier variation of the F chord as we learn the rhythms and chord progressions. As you improve your guitar playing skills, I strongly recommend that you add the next variation until you can play the full 6-string F chord. The first string is not played. The second string first fret C note is played with your first finger. The third string second fret A note is played with your second finger. The fourth string third fret F note is played with your third finger. Here we are adding the first string first fret F note to variation 1 by barring the first finger across the first fret on the first and second strings. This is the same as variation 2, but we're going to move the third finger to the 5th string 3rd fret C note, then replace the 4th string 3rd fret F note with the 4th finger. Here we are adding the full 6-string barre to variation 3. All of the fingering stays the same, but you are now adding the 6-string 1st fret F note with the finger barre. Remember, this is considered by many to be the hardest of the common chords, so if you can't play it yet, substitute an easier variation whenever the song calls for an F chord. The G chord is the 5th chord in the key of C. It is formed by playing the 1st string 3rd fret G note with your 3rd finger. The 2nd string open is B, the 3rd string open is G, and the 4th string open is D. The 5th string 2nd fret B note is played with your 1st finger, and the 6th string 3rd fret G note is played with your 2nd finger. The 6th chord, A minor, uses the 1st string open E note, 2nd string 1st fret C note played with your 1st finger, 3rd string 2nd fret A played with your 3rd finger, 4th string 2nd fret E played with your 2nd finger, and the 5th string open A note. The 7th chord, B diminished, is the least popular chord of the bunch, and we won't be using too much of it in this chorus. However, to keep this lesson complete, here is a common way to use the B diminished. The 1st string is not used. The 2nd string 3rd fret D note is played with the 3rd finger. The 3rd string 4th fret B is played with the 4th finger. The 4th string 3rd fret F is played with the 2nd finger. And the 5th string 2nd fret B is played with the 1st finger. So our 7 scale notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, are now harmonized to common guitar chords: C, D minor, E minor, F, G, minor, B diminished, and back to C. These common chords are often called open chords since they are located in the open position of the guitar neck. When you harmonize the notes of a major scale, the following formula is always present. The 1 chord is always major. The 2 and 3 chords are always minor. The 4 and 5 chords are always major. The 6th chord is always minor. The 7th chord is always diminished. This is just a general basis for chord theory. The more you play guitar, you'll find there are many exceptions to the rule. Now we're going to apply a rhythm pattern to our chords. And to help us keep time, we'll use a metronome set at 100 BPM, or 100 beats per minute. Since this is our first rhythm, we are going to start out basic with whole notes. A whole note equals 4 beats. So to use the C chord as an example, we will strum the chord on the 1 count and let it ring out for 2, 3, 4. Then switch to the next chord, strum on 1, ring for 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you are a beginner guitarist, learning full chords on the guitar can be difficult. Even easy, common chords like the few we just played can be hard to achieve. If you are a beginner and are experiencing this, try abbreviating each chord. For example, when playing the C chord, you might try playing the notes on the first few strings rather than attempting the full chord. After you get the hang of playing a 2 or 3 note chord variation, add the next string to it. Do this with each chord until you have built up enough strength and accuracy to play full chords. If you are a complete beginner, you can still use this course, but you might want to spend a week or two with individual scale notes before jumping into chords. Our starter course, Guitar DVD number 1, Beginner Basics and Beyond, might be just what you need to bridge the gap between individual notes, partial chords, and full chords used in songs. Musicians often use numbers in place of chord names when introducing a song to band members. For example, the chords of a song might be introduced as 1-4-5 or 1-6-4-5. As we have learned, each note in a scale has a numeric value. C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A is 6, B is 7, and then C is 1 again. When a scale has been harmonized into chords, the chord is often referred to with the same number but written with Roman numerals. C would be 1, D minor is 2, E minor is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A minor is 6, B diminished is 7, and C is 1. Minor chords may also use lowercase Roman numerals. A chord progression is a group of 2 or more chords. In many cases, the most popular styles of music use only 2, 3, or 4 chords throughout the entire song. This includes blues, country, jazz, rock, R&B, reggae, and any form of popular music imaginable. Use these chord progressions to learn your favorite songs and even write your own songs. Let's start by learning a few 2-chord progressions. First, we have a 1-4 progression. So in the key of C, we know that 1 is a C chord, and the 4 chord is F. Here we are going to apply a new rhythm pattern using half notes. A half note equals 2 beats, so we'll strum on 1 and 3 with our metronome set at 100 BPM. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll be using the full F chord, but feel free to substitute one of the easier variations. Here's the 1/4 progression at 100 BPM. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep in mind that a song could last 3 or 4 minutes, so if you would like to practice any of these progressions for a longer duration, use the metronome provided in the bonus section of this video. Let's move on to a 1/5 progression, which will be a C and a G chord. For our rhythm, we'll combine whole notes with half notes, so we'll be playing each chord for 2 measures. In the first measure, play the C chord for a whole note, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the second measure, use half notes strumming on 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then switch to G for the whole half-half rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, use the pause and rewind button as often as you like. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to cover a lot of information on this DVD, so it might be beneficial for you to learn one progression at a time, pause or stop the DVD to practice the chord progression, then come back to see if you can play the chords and rhythms in time with me on this recording. You might also benefit by practicing to change each chord in time with this recording, rather than try to learn the changes and rhythms all at once. Let's learn a 1-2 minor progression, which in the key of C will be a C to a D minor change. Here we will introduce a new rhythm using quarter notes. A quarter note receives 1 beat each, so we will strum along with all 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if this is getting a little fast for you, you may want to start strumming down and up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know that changing chords can be a little difficult for the beginner guitarist, so I'll show you a way you can cheat and still keep in time with the progression. If we take the C chord, strum 1, 2, and 3, and on the 4 count, strum the open strings while you lift your fingers to put them in place for the D minor chord. Then you strum D minor for 1, 2, and 3, and apply the same trick to the 4 count, strumming the open strings while you move your fingers into place for the C chord. So all together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eventually, you won't have to use this trick, but if you are just starting out, you might find it helpful. Another common chord change is the 1-3 minor, which translates to C and E minor in the key of C. For this rhythm, we will combine a half note with 2 quarter notes, strumming C on 1, hold for 2, then strum again on 3 and again on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and switch to E minor for the same rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our next 2-chord progression is a 1-6 progression. In the key of C, this is a C to A minor chord progression. Here we'll use our previous rhythm using a half note, quarter note, but we'll play each chord for 2 measures before switching. 1, 2, 3, 4. The most common chord progression is the 1-4-5. Translated to the key of C, a 1-4-5 progression consists of the chords C, F, and G. There are many adaptations to the 1-4-5 chord progression. The first we will learn is the 1-4-5-1 progression. Altogether, the chords change from C to F to G back to C. Then we repeat the progression. Now let's play this, introducing a bass note technique to our half, quarter rhythm. In the example below, first play only the bass note or lowest note of each chord for the 1 count. Hold for the 2 count, then strum the full chord on beats 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. With this 1-4-5-4 progression, we are introducing a half rest, which will produce 2 beats of silence. The easiest way to achieve the rest is to lay your picking hand across all 6 strings to prevent any notes from ringing out. For each chord, we will play quarter notes for beats 1 and 2, and a half rest for 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next progression is a 1-4-5-5. Here we're going to introduce a quarter rest on the 4th beat. So strum on counts 1, 2, and 3 and rest for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So far we have been counting solid beats using whole notes, which receive a 4-beat duration. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next we learned half notes receiving a 2-beat duration. 1, 2, 3, 4. Quarter notes receiving 1 beat each. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next we'll be learning eighth notes. An eighth note divides a beat into 2 pulses, so the new count is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The rhythm exercise below uses all 4 note types: whole, half, quarter, and eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's a 1-5-4-5 progression. Let's learn this progression while incorporating quarter notes and eighth notes to our rhythm. We'll play the bass note of each chord for the 1 count, then strum for 2 and. Bass note for the 3 count, strum for 4 and. So altogether it's 1, 2 and 3, 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1-6-5-4 starts with C, then moves down in pitch to the A minor, our 6th chord, G the 5, and F the 4 chord. We'll learn this with an 8th note quarter rest rhythm. Strum on 1 and, rest on 2, strum on 3 and, rest on 4. One, two, three, four. The 1-6-4-5 progression has a very traditional 1950s ballad feel to it. We're going to learn the 1-6-4-5 with a bass line and partial chord technique applied to an 8th note rhythm. For the 1 count, pick down on the bass note of the chord, and for the and count, strum up on the first few strings of the chord. Repeat this for counts 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can also cheat at this rhythm if it's giving you a hard time. Just skip playing the 4 count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you want to get creative, you could find bass notes to include in between each chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Raking strings between chords is an effect you can add to make any rhythm stand out. This is achieved by loosening up on the notes with your playing hand, so you are touching the strings but not holding or allowing any notes to ring out. You could further enhance this technique by resting the palm of your picking hand across the strings while you're strumming. Our next rhythm is a 1-2-3-4 chord progression. In the key of C, that is C, D minor, E minor, and F. Here we'll play 8th notes along with the raking technique. Rake on the downstroke and let the chord ring out on the upstroke. Altogether, the rhythm is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can often make a quick change in a song or chord progression by substituting different chords. For example, it is common to substitute the 2 chord in place of the 4 chord. So instead of playing 1, 4, 5, 5, substitute the 2 chord or D minor for the F and play a 1, 2 minor, 5, 5 progression. Instead of playing a 1-6-4-5, you can can substitute a 1-6-2-5. You can substitute the 3 chord in place of a 5 chord. So instead of playing 1-4-5-5, try 1-4-3-3. Or 1-4-3-5. Or 1-4-5-3. Sometimes you could even substitute the 3 chord for the 1. So instead of playing 1-4-5-5, you can try 3-4-5-5. You can also substitute the 6 chord for the 1, which will give your song a minor feel. Every major key has a relative minor key named after the 6th interval. The key of A minor is identical to the key of C major. It uses the same notes and chords. It is called a relative minor key. Revisiting some of our previous chord progressions, let's substitute the 6th chord for the 1 chord. A simple 2 chord progression can be a 6-2 change. In the key of C, that will be an A minor to a D minor. For this progression, we will introduce the arpeggio technique, which sounds the tones of a chord in succession rather than at the same time. This is picking out the individual notes of a chord rather than strumming them. You could play the notes with a pick or with the fingers of your picking hand. So let's start with a quarter note rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's a 6-4 progression that has us switching from an A minor to an F. We'll learn this arpeggiating quarter notes in eighth notes. The count is 1, 2, and 3, and 4. One, two, three, four. In the 6-2, 6-3 progression, we are switching from A minor to D minor, back to A minor, then to E minor. Let's use quarter rests and eighth notes for our rhythm, placing a quarter rest on the 1 and 3 count. So for each bar, the 1 count is silent, strum for 2 and, rest for 3, strum for 4 and. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Advanced players may also want to include a bass note on the 1 count of this rhythm. This 6-5-4 rhythm has us moving down in pitch from A minor to G to F. Here we'll split the first measure in half, playing A for beats 1 and 2, G for beats 3 and 4, then hold F for the whole second measure. The rhythm is a consistent 2 eighth notes played, then 2 eighth notes raked. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that we have learned all of the basic chords in the key of C and ways to use them, let's move on to another popular key in music. The key of G consists of the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Just like the key of C, we will give the key of G a numeric value. So G is our 1, or first interval, A is our second, B is the third, C is the fourth, D is the fifth, E is the sixth, F sharp is the seventh, and the scale is resolved on a G octave. Giving each note a numeric value allows us to apply the same universal chord formula to all musical keys. When we build full chords in the key of G using the 1-3-5 note formula, the chord types will be the same as they were in the key of C. The first is always a major chord, so G will be major. Here we are introducing another option for playing the G chord. Instead of playing the second string open, we are adding the 3rd fret D note with the 3rd finger, and we're playing the 1st string 3rd fret G with the 4th finger. The 2nd and 3rd chords are always minor chords, so A will be a minor chord, and B will be a minor chord. The B minor chord is a barre chord, like the F chord that we learned in the key of C. However, the B minor is a little easier because you only have to bar the 1st through 5th strings with your 1st finger across the 2nd fret. With the finger bar in place, the 2nd string 3rd fret D note is played with your 2nd finger, the 3rd string 4th fret B is played with your 4th finger, and the 4th string 4th fret is played with your 3rd finger. The 4th and 5th chords are always major, so C will be major and D will be major. This new D chord can be played just like the D minor chord, but slide your 1st finger up 1 fret from F to F sharp. Here's D minor, and here's D. The 6th tone is always the relative minor key, so E will be minor. And the 7th is always diminished, so the F sharp chord built from the G scale will be an F sharp diminished. You can play this chord by barring the 3rd through 6th strings on the 2nd fret. Play the 4th string 4th fret F sharp note with your 3rd finger. Play the 5th string 3rd fret C note with your 2nd finger. Strum strings 6, 5, 4, and 3 only. Strings 1 and 2 are not used. Here are the basic chords from the key of G played with a tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we could take any chord progression that we have learned and apply it to the key of G. So the 1-4-5-4 progression applied to G is now G, C, D, C. Let's apply it to a common quarter and eighth note rhythm that uses a tie. Strum on 1, let ring for and, strum on 2 and, let ring for 3, strum on and 4 and. All together slowly, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Here it is at 108 BPM. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take the same rhythm and apply it to a 1-6-4-5 progression. Applied to the key of G, that's G, E minor, C, and D. 1, 2, 3, 4. So far, we have learned a handful of 2- and 4-chord progressions. These progressions can be added together to make longer progressions. You can also extend or shorten the duration of each chord. Here, we'll take a look at extending these progressions to make an 8-bar or 8-measure progression. It may be easier to look at this as 2 groups of 4, in which case the first half will be 1-5-4-4, or G, D, C, C, and the second half will be 1-5-1-5, G, D, G, D. Here it is played with the previous rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we have a 1-1-4-4-1-5-1-1 in the key of G. This is G, G, C, C, G, D, G, G. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are a lot more progressions that can be applied to the key of G, and any of the musical keys that we will learn later. We spent more time learning chord progressions in our first key, the key of C, so you could get the hang of using the number system. Be sure to take the time to apply your favorite chord progressions to every musical key. For a list of each chord progression used in this video, visit the bonus stills section. There you will also find the sheet music showing all of the chords from each key. This will also allow you to practice this material at your own pace, slower or faster than what is recorded. After the key of G, many students of music move on to the key of D, which uses 2 sharp notes. The key uses the notes D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, then D again. Following the same universal pattern, in the key of D, the 1-4-5 chords will be major, the 2, 3, and 6 chords will be minor, and the 7th chord will be diminished. In the key of D, the 1 chord is D. The 2 chord is E minor. The 3 chord is F sharp minor. F sharp minor is a bar chord. It's very similar to the F bar chord that we learned in the key of C. Let's start with the F bar chord. Lift your second finger off the 3rd string and the chord is now F minor. If you move everything up 1 fret, it now becomes F sharp minor. F sharp minor is the 3 chord in the key of D. So we started with D, our 1 chord, E minor, the 2 chord, and now F sharp minor, the 3 chord. The 4 chord is G. The 5th chord is A major. It's held a little different than the A minor chord. The first string is open E. The second string, 2nd fret is C sharp, played with your 3rd finger. 3rd string, 2nd fret is A, played with the 2nd finger. 4th string, 2nd fret is E, played with the 1st finger. And the 5th string is A open. You can also cheat at the A chord by barring the 2nd fret on strings 4, 3, and 2. If you do this, be sure you don't sound the 1st string. The 6th, or relative minor chord, is B minor. And the 7th chord is C sharp diminished. Here they are with the tempo. Here's a 1-4-5-4 chord progression in D, using D, G, and A. If you recall, we've learned to use bass notes. We've learned to arpeggiate chords. And a few different strumming patterns. From this point on, when I introduce a progression, I'll leave it up to you to decide what strumming or picking pattern you would like to use for each chord. You may want to mimic what I am playing, or you can accent my playing with your own style. As long as you change to the correct chord in time with me, the two will blend together. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a minor progression using B minor as the 6th chord, G for the 4, back to B minor, then to A as the 5 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's a 12-bar progression using the 1-4-5 chords. The first group of 4 hangs on the 1 chord for 4 measures or 4 bars. In the middle section, we switch to the 4 chord for 2 measures, then back to the 1 chord for 2 measures. The last section turns the progression around by switching to the 5 chord for the first measure, then a quick change to the 4 chord for the second measure, and back to the 1 for the last 2 measures. The next musical key we will learn is the key of A, which consists of 3 sharp notes. The scale is A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, then back to A. The 1 chord is A major. The 2 chord is B minor. The 3 chord is C sharp minor, which is identical to the B minor chord, but played 2 frets up. The 4 chord is D. The 5 chord is E major, which uses the same frets as the E minor chord, but you add the 3rd string 1st fret G sharp note with your 1st finger. The 4th string 2nd fret E is played with your 3rd finger, and the 5th string 2nd fret B is played with your 2nd finger. The 6th or relative minor chord is F sharp minor. The major 7th chord is G sharp diminished. This is the same shape as the F sharp diminished from the key of D, but it's played 2 frets higher. One, two, three, four. This progression changes from A to C sharp minor to B minor, then E. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's a quick changing 12-bar progression. Remember, we're in the key of A, so A is the 1 chord, D is the 4 chord, and E is the 5 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. The key of E is a very popular musical key, especially for guitar players. It uses 4 sharp notes, and the scale is E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. The 1 chord is E, the 2 chord is F sharp minor. Move the F sharp minor up 2 frets and you have the 3 chord G sharp minor. The 4 chord is A. The 5 chord is a B bar chord. To play this, bar your 1st finger across the 2nd fret of the 1st through 5th strings. Play the 2nd string 4th fret D sharp note with your 4th finger. Play the 3rd string 4th fret B note with your 3rd finger. And play the 4th string 4th fret F sharp with your 2nd finger. You can also cheat at this chord by holding the 5th string 2nd fret B with your index finger and bar strings 4, 3, and 2 with your 3rd finger. Be sure not to play the 1st string if you're going to use this variation. The relative minor 6th chord is C sharp minor. The 7th chord is D sharp diminished. This D sharp diminished is played just like the B diminished from the key of C, but it's played 4 frets up. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two. 1, 2. The key of B uses 5 sharp notes out of 7. The notes are B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. Almost every chord is a bar chord, but they all use fingerings and shapes that we have already learned in other keys. Starting with the 1 chord, B, the 2 chord is C sharp minor, 3 chord is D sharp minor, the 4 chord is E, 5 chord is F sharp, the relative minor 6 chord is G sharp minor, the 7th chord is an A sharp diminished. 1, 2, 3, 4. The key of F is the first key to use a flat note in the key signature. The notes are F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. The 1 chord is F, the 2 chord is G minor, the 3 chord is A minor, the 4 chord is B flat, 5 is C, the relative 6 minor is D minor, the 7th chord is E diminished. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The key of B flat uses 2 flat notes. The scale is made up of B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. B flat is the 1 chord. The 2 chord is C minor. The 3 chord is D minor. 4 is E flat. 5 is F. The relative minor 6 chord is G minor. A is diminished. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. 1, flat uses 3 flat notes in its key signature. The scale notes are E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, E flat. E flat is the 1 chord, F minor is the 2, G minor is 3, A flat is the 4 chord, B flat is 5, C minor is the relative minor or 6 chord, and D diminished makes up the 7th chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. The key of F sharp uses 6 sharps in the key signature. The notes are F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, and F sharp. If you have studied basic music, you may have learned that there is no such thing as an E sharp note. However, when studying advanced key changes and key signatures, we learn that the key of F sharp is an exception to the rule. The 7th note of the F sharp scale is technically an F note. However, it's named E sharp to fit in with the rest of the notes. In the key of F sharp, the 1 chord is F sharp, the 2 chord is G sharp minor, the 3 chord is A sharp minor, the 4 chord is B, the 5 chord is C sharp, the 6th chord is D sharp minor, and the 7th chord is E sharp diminished. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. The key of D flat uses 5 flat notes. It is made up of D flat, E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, and D flat. The 1 chord is D flat, the 2 chord is E flat minor, 3 is F minor, the 4 chord is G flat, the 5 chord is A flat, the relative minor 6 chord is B flat minor, the 7th chord is C diminished. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. The key of A flat uses 4 flat notes. The scale is A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, A flat. The 1 chord is A flat, 2 is B flat minor, 3 is C minor, 4 is D flat, 5 is E flat, the relative minor 6 chord is F minor, the 7th chord is G diminished. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. This wraps up Easy Guitar Chords DVD. We've managed to cover every key of music, and therefore every major and minor chord. We've also learned quite a few progressions and tricks along the way. Take some time to soak this all in. Experiment with your favorite chords and progressions. Write your own songs and learn the songs that have influenced you to play the guitar. After some time off, play along with this video again. It will be rewarding to see how much you've progressed as a musician, and you might find something that you've overlooked on a previous viewing. When you are ready to move on and learn more about chords, visit mjspublications.com